Hi West Texas, and welcome to episode 2 of our new VCast series, Chat with the Chief, featuring San Angelo Police Chief Travis Griffith. I'm Burt Sempier. Last time we covered a whole host of important topics and had a little bit of fun as well, and the plan is to do the same today. So, without further ado, Chief Travis Griffith. Chief, thank you for coming by and making the time again.
Thank you so much for having me, and we're going for round 2.
That's right. So let's start right away. Let's talk about the men and women of the SAPD. Last time we were together, we spoke about the need for recruitment and how you're trying to bolster the ranks of the SAPD. Recently, you held a swearing-in ceremony for a new lateral officer, Jalen Brady.
Yeah.
What does Mr. Brady bring to the team, and how good is it to see an officer with experience wanting to be a part of the SAPD?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we constantly have to deal with is, the attrition rate and how do we replace those that leave, right? When we have people that leave with 25, 30 years of experience, how to replace that. And, one way to do that is you hire people that have they bring that experience to the table. And so Jalen comes to us with an intermediate, and so it's kind of like right in the middle. Keyword intermediate, right? And so he's right in the middle of his training. He has roughly 6 years of law enforcement, and so he's already been certified as field training. He's had some experience in special response, and he has a degree. We love to push for education. So there's some great things that he brings to the table. And we have high hopes for Jalen. I told him, I said, I really hope that this is the last place and the next badges that we pin on you of promotions.
So not only new officers, but assuming you would accept any officer with the proper experience, proper training to come be a member of the San Angelo Police Department.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're pushing right now, because if you go start to finish, it's roughly, there's kind of each, based off holidays and everything else that comes through, but from time of test to time that they do us any good by themselves, it's about 1 year and 5 months. So you go a long time before you're by yourself doing the citizens any good to go to the academy, to go all through that process. Whenever you're already certified, though, that skips out a big chunk of that process, right? And we're looking to do that in about 20 weeks with the lateral. So we give them some time where they learn city ordinances and then learn our policies and procedures, and then we go through a field training, which honestly, the field training is the hardest part. Application of the law at our level, right? So we have over 100,000 calls for service roughly every year, and so dealing with that and be able to kind of understand how the fast pace and kind of what we deal with is important. Yeah.
Continuing with the men and women in uniform, this week the San Angelo City Council signed off on a new wage deal that was also worked on by the San Angelo Police Officers Coalition. Just to make sure I have my facts right, the deal includes a $100 increase per month for drone operators and traveling officers. 88% of the officers did sign off on this deal.
Sir.
From the outside looking in, this seems like a good thing for the men and women who put on the badge every day.
Yes, sir. So basically what we had to do, a little bit of cannibalization, right? So we were slotted at 180 officers for our entire size. And we gave up 6 positions. So we took salaries and benefits and everything rolls into that to help fund that raise, to give them, it ends up being about a 7% increase from what they had last year. We have to be able to pay the people we have, keep them here, right? Their most important asset that you have is their people, right? So investing into them and knowing that we're gonna support them, we're gonna do everything we can to help them be better, and we want to pay them what they're worth, right? So that's where that's a good thing. And working with the Officers Association, we have some good leadership there, and they're coming up with some good plans. And the city understands I think better than years in the past to see everybody's feeling the pinch, right? It's almost like a buyer's market, right, for officers, right? So if you are more apt to be able to go to some of the highest paying departments now more than ever, and so we're trying to incentivize that and get the right people where they need to be. So yeah.
We know that the deal starts in October and runs through the end of 2025.
Yes,
Do the officers maybe you speak with, do they already have to start thinking about the next year, the next deal already?
Oh yeah, and so these are short-term deals. What we'd ultimately like to see is a long-term pay plan to get us just within the average. So the officers aren't trying to be greedy, and that's one thing people look at the pay, they're like, that's a lot of money for San Angelo. It is a lot of money for San Angelo, and that's not lost on us. But at the end of the day, we're not dealing with the job market of San Angelo. We're dealing with the profession of law enforcement as the job market, right? And so when you look at that, everybody that is around us, Abilene pays about, even with our raise, we'll pay about $24,000 more. And so when we see that, we have to start preparing for the future to be able to get within reason. We don't need to be making exactly what's Abilene, because we're not Abilene, right? We don't need to be making exactly what Midland's making, because we're not Midland. But we do need to be within reason, right? To keep people from wanting to uproot their family to go there, then we're going to try to, number one, make an environment that we support our law enforcement, we support our, if they're doing the right thing, I will die on that hill to protect them, right? And I tell them, and they're not doing the right thing, then there will be consequences, serious consequences, right? Because we took an oath for a reason, right? And so, but I think when you create that environment, people want to know that they're taken care of and supported, right? And then people want to know that whenever you step out of line, that they'll be handled appropriately, right, and fairly. And so I think if we can foster that environment, we move towards that, then we'll see people that want to come work here. They want to see us be a part of a place that supports rule of law and justice and standing for what West Texas is.
Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about a topic that's near and dear to everyone's heart, whether you have a child or not, and that's school safety.
Yes, sir.
Ever since the shooting in Georgia, it seems like there has been a spike in threats or alleged threats that police across the nation have had to investigate. And this hit close to home last week. You and your officers, detectives, had to look into an alleged threat against Central High School, and nothing ever came of that, correct?
Yeah, so I mean, really it was kind of it was a hodgepodge of about 3 or 4 different various things that were being shared. Some of it was just misinformation, and not so much malicious as it was just somebody said, "Hey, I saw this," and then somebody else reported that online and took off from there, and it wasn't accurate. And so we have to work through. We have a great working relationship with our school district. We're actually stepping into our first time ever where we're actually going to have a school resource officer there on campus. And that is paid by us, paid by us, but supported by the school district, so they fund it. But they're going to help organize and keep people on track in regards to the officers that are working off duty at the schools. So it's a full-time, that's their role, is going to be managing those positions and being there to help deal with these threats as they come in firsthand. We're also working through creating a partnership with the DPS and the Sheriff's Department, the school district, mental health providers. It's a whole group of people to work through a better way to have a team that are going to work through threat assessments. Because that's ultimately, at the end of the day, is we were able to go through 2 or 3 of those threats that were kind of being shared were not from San Angelo, right? So be able to kind of kill those early and right away to see through reverse imaging, right, to find out if this has been shared somewhere else. We're trying to find any way we can to let people know that their kids are our highest priority, right? And so we're getting all the resources we can to devote towards that, and that we're not just standing by on the sidelines. I had somebody that had shared a picture of an officer that was kind of hanging out. There was 2 or 3 officers in one area at Central. Well, we did that. We had a lot of officers at Central. So we brought in people that were off duty. One of them was assistant chief of police. It may look like he was on the phone dealing with making sure we had staffing in other places and working through. And the other one was they were waiting to leave out to go on their golf cart. So sometimes it may seem like something is one thing, but it's not. So we're truly working through what the safety and what's the most important to us. I have a brand new baby, right? Our daughter just graduated 2.5 years ago, right? So from high school. So we want the future to be safe and secure. We want the parents to know that we take this very seriously. We have a great working relationship with the school district, and we're working through building every type of foundational aspect to help us be better, to address those threats, isolate them, and handle them appropriately.
You mentioned how you're a parent. As chief of police, is getting information that there is the potential threat of violence at a school the worst call a chief or an officer can receive?
I think it's probably the worst thing when you put that in the level of hurt and pain and suffering, for sure. Yeah, that is. When you deal with even just not knowing, right? So there's a lot of times that something will happen where maybe nothing does take place, or the police get there and affect the arrest before something happens. But the panic that goes through, knowing that something has taken place. Like I can't begin to imagine the most recent shooting. Not knowing, having to wait there's a process to it. So I mean, you can't just let everybody just kind of run free. You have a area that's you staged to do reuniting the families. And so that time frame has got to be super, super tough. And so I feel for those parents and pray that we don't have to see that here, and we're going to prepare so that we don't have that. But in today's world, we cannot just stand by and not have major amounts of preparation. This is one of those things that we're training all of our officers on how to respond. Right? We're trying to get staffing into the schools. We're trying to address those threats before they ever are able to act. Take very swift action. So here's the thing. So these people, if you're thinking about sharing making up something, right, to those kids out there, we've arrested people already this school year, right? Now, you don't hear about them much, and we don't release it as much because unless it's been very public, we don't talk about it media-wise because they're juveniles. But there's some laws and things that goes into that. But when it comes to us, we're going to have the full arm of the law be there, right? We're tired of seeing this being weaponized in a way that you're going to use this in a way to cause fear and panic and disrupt the learning process and just the safety of the well-being of our community.
I know it's only been a few weeks in terms of what seems like a spike in these social media posts, but just thinking out loud, it's almost like we had the swatting issue where people, and you heard it sometimes that it was people playing online video games. They didn't like something that happened. They said there was a threat somewhere and the police responded to someone's house. Hopefully this doesn't kind of turn into the next trend.
Well, and I think the more that local areas start really moving towards strong prosecution, I'm not talking about over the top, but strong, fair prosecution of these cases, I think that will deter it, honestly. Because I mean, if you're going to allege something, I mean, it used to be the thing. You go back, that was one more recent, but you go back even further, running into a theater and yelling fire, right? That caused panic. Things can happen. People don't go to school. That whole process is so vital that we have normalcy in our lives, that we can trust. We have safety, right? Freedom is something that we have to have that balance of applying criminal justice, applying a level of understanding that we can find a way back, try to deter the recidivism rates, and educate our kids. Look for ways that bullying, right, to try to deter that in the schools and try to highlight that early, so that way we can help maybe that next person that mentally is not in a place where they need to be, to help deter that. So everything we can try to do, we're going to be doing. I can guarantee that.
Another topic that has national implications that also is near and dear to the heart of San Angelo residents is the issue of fentanyl.
Yes, sir.
According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, last year nationwide, there were over 107,000 overdose deaths.
Yes, sir.
Every once in a while, we see reports of someone in West Texas being apprehended and they were in possession of fentanyl.
Yes, sir.
What are you and your officers seeing on the ground in San Angelo?
Yeah, number one, we're seeing an increase in narcotics on the streets. It's a basic supply and demand, right? So whenever you see prices, kind of the way is a good metric for that. And we're seeing prices for drugs being much cheaper than they were. That means in the basic supply and demand chain there that we have a large amount, right? When you have a large amount, you have to lower your prices to be able to be competitive. And so that's what we're seeing, those that are evil doers, because I think when you're selling drugs, it's very evil, right?
Especially fentanyl.
Yes, for sure. And so what we're trying to do is we're partnering with our Sheriff's Department and DPS, and we're working towards the steps of creating a task force to be able to combat all narcotics, but especially those that can cause such pain and suffering. And so we are we're doing what we can. We're going to work through that. We're very close to getting that kind of finalized, and we're working with our federal counterparts on cases when we have large amounts. We can't, and when we do that, so some people are like, well, where's all the different drug arrests? And you see some agencies will put it out there, they'll look at all these pictures and stuff. A lot of these cases we can't do because we're working with our federal counterparts. And so we deal with the case locally on a local level with local prosecutors, and then that's going to be forwarded to the feds for investigation or prosecution, I should say. And so those situations we have to kind of hold back because for the sake of the case and for the sake of them not trying to run off, that's where we look at that. So.
Have you ever seen something, fentanyl, I'm still talking about,
Sure.
something that has made its way into so many different parts of society? It seems like you hear about someone from a very well-off family, unfortunately, has a tragic incident with fentanyl, to a family that might be struggling financially. One of their family members gets involved with fentanyl. It must be amazing to see how this has impacted almost every aspect of society.
And we are, as humanity, we are our own worst enemy in a lot of ways, right? So we have a natural desire sometimes to get off into things we shouldn't be, right? Go back to Adam and Eve, right? And so we've seen this at all levels, from it being crack cocaine, methamphetamine. These types of drugs find their way into different groups, and fentanyl is particular because it's opioid based, right? So I mean, it's a depressant, and it is very difficult to get off of an opioid, and it's such a strong drug, right? So whenever you're looking at that, it can cause massive amounts of overdoses, right? And what we're even seeing too is the overdoses that get reported now, because there's a lot of people out there that have put forth great organizations, and I think it's good to have them. Narcan, right, which is to counteract those overdoses. Sometimes we don't even get reported when there is an overdose if they almost kind of self-correct with Narcan. So it's a bigger problem than what we can think. Thankfully, I think San Angelo is a little bit more isolated than Midland, Odessa, Abilene, all along the Interstate 10 corridor. I think it's just because we don't have we're not a super big hub. We're a very small hub in this West Texas region as compared to them. So we don't see some of the same levels as that, but we're not immune to it, and it is scary stuff. And I think the big thing is for those parents out there, right, to just pay attention, right, be involved in your kids' lives, do cell phone audits on those younger kids, find out what's going on, know that drugs are a major problem. We're going to start working towards partnering with our local nonprofits and partnering with programs to do education programs in schools to hopefully deter those kids from ever getting down that road.
Do your officers that are on duty, do they carry Narcan with them?
Yes, sir, we do. We do for multi-purpose. Honestly, it was a big push, a big scare on, thought if you've been touched Narcan, that you could die. You inhale it, right? So if you get it in your system, we've had situations in Texas where officers have accidentally overdosed, gotten fentanyl into their system. And so having that as a fast-acting ability to kill that right away. And honestly, we go to almost every, not all of it, we go to a vast majority of emergency medical calls that are out there. We end up being there for scene security, or when we first get there, that if we can stop the bleed, or if we can apply fentanyl for fentanyl overdose, we can apply Narcan to help combat that, and that's where we were able to do that. And we've had that happen numerous times.
Before we look forward, let's look back real quick.
Yes, sir.
Last week, the nation mourned the anniversary of September 11th,
Yes, sir.
and San Angelo had a memorial service honoring those who were killed on that day. I saw the sea of flags. I know you were among many that delivered remarks at San Angelo's memorial service.
Yes, sir.
What was it like to be at that event and to see the community come together to pay their respects to the families that are still mourning today?
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing that really came to mind for me is that we have lost connection, I think, with some of the younger generation. That we have people that are working. Generally, you don't remember anything until about 5 years old, right? So you could be a business professional and not even have an inkling of memory of 9/11. I think it really made us realize at that point as a country how vulnerable we are, how precious freedom is, and how petty a lot of our differences are in the grand scheme of things. And it doesn't take away from the things that go wrong, but what I mean by that is everybody, for the most part, a big chunk of America, was all on the same page. We were a part of something more. Our differences didn't seem to matter, that we were willing to stand up and help in the face of danger and adversity. And so that definitely comes to mind, because I remember that so vividly. And so if we can get back to that and pass that along, I think we owe it to our future generations and those that are starting to move past that, to know that it's these folks. gave it all. Not just our firemen. There were citizens that stood up and were real heroes, right? There was people that worked for different companies and businesses that stood up and saved hundreds of lives by what they did. And I think that we owe it to our country to move forward in a way that generally remembers them, but also highlight the fact that that is the American spirit. That regardless of what we face, regardless of the differences, that we will stand united together. And if that means that you might have to give the ultimate sacrifice, especially those firefighters and police officers that knew going in that day, that is the American spirit.
And it's also important not only to remember the people who died on September 11th, but also the many first responders that are still dying today because of the terrible illnesses that they contracted from the days and the months after the fact trying to look for survivors, the ultimate cleanup that came just inhaling so many toxins.
Yeah, we've actually surpassed more firefighters, first responders have passed away from illnesses contracted from ground zero than the number that died that day. It's constant. I think a reminder for those that have been there, and it's always that worry. So I mean, praying for those folks, and know that in the middle of this, we continually feel that, and connecting that to the younger generation, I think is an imperative thing that we need to do.
Let's look forward now.
Yes, sir.
So on September 25th, the SAPD will be holding Coffee with a Cop.
Yeah.
What do you hope to accomplish during that event?
Yeah, so we're trying to get back to more community events. We are trying to honestly humanize the badge a little bit, right? Kind of what we're doing here, to know that we're just human beings and we're just average folks that are here trying to make a difference in our community, and let the citizens come get to know their officers, kind of get to see them, and get to visit, ask questions, see that we're not just an episode of Cops or Blue Bloods or something like that, right? We are normal folks that have hobbies and our faith and our families, and so getting to know them, because I think it's vital for us as a society. You can occupy a group of people, right? You can be an occupying force. That's not policing, right? What we want to do, policing, is that we're a partnership. We're working together with you guys as the citizens and as the business owners and everything else, to know that without you, we can't do it. Just like y'all need us, we need you. So we're trying to have that connection be strong.
And we'll get you out of here on this one, Chief. October 1st promises to be another great event, National Night Out.
Yes, sir.
I've been to many of those over the years, different police departments, but the community was always out in full force. A lot of different police agencies have shown people some of the tools they use, like drones. For those families, for everyday people that want to go out to National Night Out, what can they kind of expect? Yeah,
again, I think we're just driving home the point that we want to show you what we do, why we do it, be open, be real. You can see our stuff and how it applies in day-to-day life in San Angelo for the police. And hopefully maybe inspire that next generation, right? The younger kiddos to come out and see what we do and how we do it. To be able to say, hey, that might be the pivotal moment in somebody's young life, to say, that's it, I want to be the police. I want to be the next generation of SAPD. So we're hoping to see that. And it's just a great time to come out and we'll have some food and fun and music, and it's a great time.
Hey, there's a lot of young people, a lot of boys and girls out there that want to do good and don't know how, and maybe,
yes, sir,
like you said, this is the event that opens their mind to policing.
Let's go.
All right, Chief, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
That'll do it for episode 2 of Chat with the Chief. Remember, you can ask the Chief a question by texting us at 325-655-6006. And for all things news, weather, and sports, head on over to our website, foxwtx.com.